if Warner Brothers kicks off and learns from their mistakes and takes anything to heart that I talk about here, you know, everybody come back and comment on this video and say, John's Comic Corner, he can see the future. They listened to him and they ripped him off. I don't know. Welcome back to John's Comic Corner, where we're going to take a little bit of a different route than normal today. I like this channel to focus on comics and try to keep it on mostly the comic side of things, but this one topic, as you can probably tell by the thumbnail and the title, is not about comics, but it is something that has got under my skin because for some reason Warner Brothers or DC or whoever is running that company, Netflix or whatever, I guess they're allergic to money or something, or they're idiots, you know? So I'm not here to do like a huge ragey video, you know, but I think this is worth discussing because it's in the worst state possible, you know? And I'm a fan of video games. I love comics. I love to see those things come together because I think it can almost be better than any of the movies, you know? Comic book video games can give us something that the movies, you know, never really can, you know? So let's go through the history, a little bit of the history of the video games that have come out in the DC area of things, what the plans are, and maybe what can be done to fix it if they ever saw this annoying person screaming into the void like I am right now. Sort of informally, here's the history. You know, you had the 80s and the 90s of video games, a lot of 2D platformers, a lot of, you know, probably, I don't want to say rudimentary, probably par for the course at the time video games. There's a SNES Batman game that comes to mind. I know there was a DC fighting game. It was fine. It was a fine time. I think the 80s and the 90s really culminates with everyone's favorite, Superman 64, right? In some ways, it is fortuitous. It is prophetic of the state of video games right now. That one of the most well-known DC video games, especially from the early days, is like absolute garbage. And that's sort of where we're at right now. So anyways, moving into the 2000s, we have games like Aquaman, which I've not played, but it's garnered a pretty great reputation of being absolute trash, you know? We have the movie tie-in games like Batman Begins, which funnily enough has Christian Bale voicing Batman. Is he phoning it in?
Ooh, tell me about the rabbits.
Can you be more threatening?
Tell me about the rabbits.
Sounds like it. We do start to get some bangers. We get Lego Batman. I played this on the DS. Probably not the best way to experience it. We have Mortal Kombat versus DC Universe. You know, when I saw this, I didn't even know what Mortal Kombat was when I played this as a 10-year-old or however old I was. But what a fun concept. And as a huge Mortal Kombat fan today, I love this. I think they should do another one. But then we have the crown jewel, where things got great. Batman Arkham Asylum. It's such a good game. It's such a tight narrative. It's got the free flow combat system that's amazing. And this was in a time before comic book video games started really cooking. You know, this was the first one. Then we move into the 2010s. We get DC Universe Online. Weirdly enough, I've been playing this recently, and it's actually a pretty fun time if you have a weird obsession with DC and comic book knowledge like I do. It's almost just fun to run around and see what heroes you're gonna run into, personally. Just doing quests for Superman and Batman and Wonder Woman. And now they have like these big events where they've added like Gray Lanterns, which is like super recent in the comics if you know anything about it. And so I think if you love DC, it's free to play. It might just be worth jumping in, go over to the Watchtower and walk around and be like, whoa, look, it's Ambush Bug. I remember Ambush Bug, you know, stuff like that. So after DC Universe Online, we get Arkham City. Probably the best narrative in the original Arkham games. unmatched in my opinion as far as like superhero comic book narratives go in video games. We get Injustice, you know? Clearly DC Universe vs. Mortal Kombat was a hit, or at least people enjoyed it enough to want to see that in the DC side of things. And we get Injustice. Also an incredible spin-off comic of Injustice. I mean, that was a whole multimedia effort that really kicked off, you know? We get Arkham Origins, we get Arkham Knight, we get Lego Batman 2, which I don't hear people talk about enough, but there's like a whole open world Gotham you can explore and a whole roster of DC characters to play as. It's really fun. And then we round out 2010s with Injustice 2, a comic book video game that I have probably spent like 200 hours in. I played the heck out of that game. I love the cosmetics, I love the heroes. I tried to get everybody to max level, and you can imagine that's a chore, something I haven't been able to do. But what an incredible game. And again, DC, they Warner Brothers all together, they seem to want games that last for a million years. What are you doing? Moving into the 2020s, this is where things just go off a cliff. Multiverses. I know people like multiverses. I think it's probably grown into its own. I played it when it first was like in beta or whatever. I thought it was fine enough, but it's hard to be a Smash Bros clone this day and age, you know? Gotham Knights. I pre-ordered Gotham Knights. I played it at like midnight. I was pretty excited. And it was awful. I just played Red Dead Redemption 2, and within seconds, I was like, these guys like move weird. It's like, what is going on? The story, mid. The characters could have been great, but I feel like every aspect of them was just like caricaturized, you know? It's like, Barbara's the techie one. Tim is the young one. Raphael is, Red Hood I meant, is the Raphael of the group. Nightwing's like super quippy, you know? And that's it. Super surface level. You could definitely tell it was gonna be a live service game that they turned into a single player game because they saw the train wreck that was Marvel Avengers. And then we have Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. A game that here's the thing, when I saw that announced, I was like, really? We're not gonna get like any other heroes from the DC universe, we're gonna get the Suicide Squad. I like the Suicide Squad fine enough, but it clearly just feels like Warner Brothers just thinks their audience is like a lot more hardcore than they are. And maybe that's just me, but it's like, I just feel like, are we gonna do Superman? No. Are we gonna do The Flash? No. Are we gonna do like any fun, awesome hero? No. We'll just give you the dudes that all shoot guns and they make like little irreverent quips. Also, we had Arkham Shadow, which I haven't played. I don't have a VR thing to play it on, but I've heard it's pretty fun, so maybe it's worth checking out. But then here we come to the present. See, I wish I wanted the videos in this channel to be evergreen, so we're gonna get to this point probably, and it's like this video is gonna be dated immediately, you know? But hey, if Warner Brothers kicks off and learns from their mistakes and takes anything to heart that I talk about here, you know, everybody come back and comment on this video and say, John's Comic Corner, he can see the future. They listened to him and they ripped him off. I don't know. That's what I'm saying. We had the Wonder Woman game. In my head, I pictured Shadow of Mordor, but Wonder Woman. Pretty great idea. Like, Wonder Woman hasn't really had the great time in the spotlight beyond that, like, movie, you know, the one Wonder Woman movie that was pretty great. And then for some reason, maybe everyone just thought they dropped off on her. This game could have been great, but you know what? It probably was just gonna be like Assassin's Creed Odyssey, where you're just going around Themyscira or the ancient Greek world or whatever and fighting like Ares or Spartan people. You know what I would have liked to see? Give me Wonder Woman, throw her on Apocalypse or something, and then you do Shadow of Mordor, but on Apocalypse, and you're fighting like Furies and Darkseid's generals. There you go, DC. You can take that idea, reboot Wonder Woman. That would be awesome. You throw in Big Barda, maybe Superman and Batman are like kidnapped by Darkseid and Wonder Woman's gotta go save them. Hey, that would be cool. We've got the new Lego Batman coming out, and it's gonna be probably awesome. I think there's like some super stupid little gripes I probably have with it, like on the characterizations of some characters and stuff like that doesn't matter ultimately. Seems like they're like, let's just do Arkham but Lego. That's a great idea. So obviously Kevin Conroy's not there. Whoever was doing the Batman voice in like the other Lego Batman movies, I don't know if that's still the guy. It just doesn't sound like the Batman I want. But also, because of course, Rocksteady is reportedly working on another Batman Arkham situation. You know, they did the Arkham trilogy. It was amazing. They did Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. It just turned out to be the absolute worst. And like everything DC does, when all else fails, just go back to Batman, because he's the one who makes money. And you know what? I like Batman. Don't get me wrong. I'm not a Batman hater. I'm just super sick of seeing him everywhere. You might wonder, how did DC get to this situation that they're in with video games? Was it because they greenlit a bunch of stuff and canceled it? Was it because they put out a bunch of garbage games? Probably. But I think it's much more fundamental than that. I think there's a fundamental misunderstanding of what these people think their audience wants. You know, back in 2024, J.B. Perrette, I guess, who was the president of streaming and games for Warner Brothers, gave this, I guess, an interview. I don't know. I'll link the IGN article that I read. But he said, it's a great business when you have a hit like Hogwarts Legacy. It makes the year look amazing. Unfortunately, we also have disappointments. We just released Suicide Squad this quarter, which was not as strong. Wasn't as strong. People liked it a little less, as Todd Howard might say. But it says, it just makes it very volatile. Is it volatile? I mean, gamers can be pretty mean, you know? They don't like cringe games and they'll come at it pretty hard. But it's like, sorry your feelings got hurt, corporation guy who completely misread the situation and put out a game that nobody wanted to play. Anyways, the IGN article goes on to say, Warner Brothers said previously that the Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League has fallen short of our expectations. Within the studio segment, we're doubling down though on games as an area where we think there is a lot more growth opportunity that we can tap into with the IP that we have and some of the capabilities on the studio side, where we're uniquely positioned as a publisher and a developer of games, which is just stupid corpo nonsense, you know. We have a lot of great properties we're sitting on, so we have a lot of great growth opportunities. But then he goes on to say, rather than just launching a one-and-done console game, how do we develop a game around, for example, Hogwarts Legacy or Harry Potter that is a live service game where people can live and work and build and play in that world on an ongoing basis, he asked. Hey, you know that game we made that was like the only hit we ever put out and against all odds did like incredibly well because people just wanted to like be a wizard student and walk around Hogwarts? Let's just like scrap everything that made that game great and do a live service version of it. They're basically saying, and bear in mind, this was in 2024, so this was a while ago, but the history has been, or the news has been sparse on what their plans even are. They just don't understand. If you're making a live service game, you have to entice other people away. They're just like, people like Batman, we'll just give this to them and they'll eat it up, you know? I'm not the only one who said this, obviously, but it's just infuriating, you know? Now, I can't remember if it was after this or before this, James Gunn, the whole reshaping of Warner Brothers happened. And James Gunn said that they were going to start integrating video games into like their major DC universe, like the whole multimedia project, movies, TV shows, video games would be like in the same universe. That's a great idea. It kind of reminds me of like what Star Wars was doing. A lot of the Star Wars games are ostensibly still in the same universe as the Star Wars movies, though will they ever connect? Doesn't seem like it. When's Cal Kestis gonna show up in the shows, you know? You cast the guy as the same actor, he looks the same, he could just put him in a movie. They aren't gonna do that. In August of 2025, this is the most recent news I could really find, James Gunn said, yeah, there've been some slight movement on different things, he told Games Radar. We have a couple of little DC games coming out, but we've also talked about and are in early stages of planning some bigger things. But one thing in particular that I'm excited about, but it's going to take some time. There's been some changes in Warner Brothers games, and so we're dealing with new people. Basically, there's like no plans, you know? That Lego Batman game's going to come out. Maybe that Arkham Batman game's going to come out. But there's like nothing new to announce. Seems like at least within 3 years, we might get something. Just extra frustrating when you look at like the Marvel side of things, like Marvel Rivals, even Marvel Snap, like a mobile title like that. Marvel Cosmic Invasion was one of the most fun comic book experiences I've had in such a long time. Because it's like low-key based on that Abnett and Lanning Annihilation saga, which I love, and then you can play the game and it sort of loosely follows it, but there's there's really familiar heroes that you know, and then there's these obscure heroes that you know. And I'm not even a huge beat 'em up game playing guy, but I played through that with my brothers, and it was just an incredibly fun time. And you know how long that game probably took to make? I don't know anything about game development, but it can't be as crazy as what they want to do, you know? But that does beg the question. What can be done? What games could we see? What games what games would I like to see? And you know what? I understand the industry we live in. They can't all be solo games. Solo, one and done games, as Perret says there, though they can be. So I've got some ideas. Some good, non-live service games, and even some live service games that you might just want to rip wholesale from me here. But you know what? I'll give it to you for free, DC. If you take any of these ideas, or at least just one of these ideas, I'll give you one of these ideas for free. You make this and then contact me and I'll work with you, Here's some non-live service games you could make. Green Arrow. You know what? People like the Arrow show. They like the Flash. They like that whole Arrowverse. I'm not saying make it in the Arrowverse, but make a Green Arrow game. I mean, so many games we're playing these days. You got Tomb Raider, you've got Horizon Zero Dawn, even like Breath of the Wild, like so much bow and arrow heavy combat. You just do the same thing. Make the Arkham games, give us free flow combat, but give us like solid bow and arrow stealth gameplay action. Give us a Green Arrow game. Put him in like a prison or something. Maybe he has to break out of a prison. I know there was that canceled comic book movie back in the day that was like Green Arrow breaking out of a prison. Do that, but it's a video game. I think that would be awesome. And man, the potential for like the skins, the costumes that you could have Green Arrow in. I mean, I'd give me like Robin Hood Green Arrow, but give me like the Arrow. I mean, it writes itself basically. Do that Wonder Woman thing that I said. Put her on Apocalypse. Make her fight Darkseid, show the world like how much of a powerhouse she is, that she can like hold her own with like people like Superman, Put her on Darkseid, have her like fight her way through armies of parademons and stuff. Dude, yeah. Quit sitting on the Nemesis system and just give us a game, Warner Brothers. That's what I want to say. Here's a good idea. Do a stealth co-op game. I'm thinking like Origami, maybe like I've been playing some Sniper Elite with friends recently, just like a real solid stealth sandbox game. You do Batman and Robin, or maybe like Red Hood and Arsenal or something like that. But initially I'm thinking, Batman and Robin co-op stealth adventure. I mean, they sort of had that in Arkham Origins. I'd like to see that maybe as a full game or a short experience, something like that. Nightwing, Rocksteady, scrap your Batman game and just make a full Nightwing game. Nightwing is so awesome, and he needs to come into his own in the mainstream, in my opinion. Maybe I'm a huge Nightwing stan. I definitely am, but I would love to see that. And then, a Superman game is obvious. People keep saying you can't make a Superman game. Obviously, Superman 64. But even that Superman Returns game, not great, but had some interesting ideas you could pull from. But, we've all seen that tech demo that someone put out where they basically made like a Superman game to prove that it can be done. And no one's jumped on that. No one's been like, oh, we can make money there. Like, just from a pure competitive standpoint, what are you doing, people? You look at the Spider-Man games. I know that it's like web swinging and everything, but it's like, how hard would that be to translate to flying in some way? Maybe I'm just being super dumb here and I don't understand, but even talk about like small experiences. That Patrick Star game, just dumb goat simulator physics-based stuff. Do like Kite Man. Give me a stupid Kite Man game where he's just like, the whole thing, it's open world Gotham and there's just a bunch of little objectives and you're just like gliding around, because every game these days has gliders. Dumb Kite Man experience. There you go. Now here's some live service things that I think. Obviously, I'm thinking you just copy Marvel, man. Even just work with the people that make those Marvel games, contract out to them, have them make a DC game. It's sort of like Lego, right? Lego makes Marvel and DC games. People are fine with it. Though I do think Lego might be, their game division might be owned by Warner Brothers, but I just think do Marvel Rivals, but DC. Dude, people would saw off their arm for something like that. Do Ultimate Alliance, but DC, you know? Add new characters put out multiple DLCs, put out different, I don't know how you make that a live service thing, but Ultimate Alliance is still probably one of the best Marvel games, even in this current crop of the Marvel Renaissance, that I would just like to see DC do their own take on, you know? They wouldn't do this because they're idiots and they don't like know how to think of good games, but it's like they want a live service game. They want a universe where you can create your own character and do stuff in. Make a Green Lantern game. You boot in, you create your own Green Lantern from, you can be a human Green Lantern, whatever race of alien Green Lantern you want. And you do like Helldivers. You do Helldivers, but it's Green Lantern. There's your idea, DC. I mean, I would play that. I'd play the heck out of that. And maybe you bring in Red Lanterns and Blue Lantern. I mean, the cosmetics that you could sell just alone for like Green Lantern, but DC stands, though people just still think Green Lantern's a massive joke because of that one movie. So they would never take the risk on it, but it could be incredible. This is the one, Injustice 3 needs to happen. Injustice 3, or you do Mortal Kombat versus DC Universe again. The hype for that would be incredible. Something like that is probably already coming down the pipeline. Whenever NetherRealms is done with Mortal Kombat 1 and stuff, they'll probably hop into that. I have a friend who theorizes that like clearly the Injustice team worked on Mortal Kombat 1. It feels more like Injustice. So maybe the people who were like making like Mortal Kombat 11 perhaps, maybe they're working on something, some Injustice 3 game. That would be awesome. I mean, honestly, just talking about this has just made me sad. But you know what? The comics still exist. And even though they're not even that great as much anymore, the comics still exist, ultimately. And we can all still go back and play Arkham. We can all still go play DC Universe Online. Because you know what? I kind of think Warner Brothers just forgot that thing is being made. Because everyone who loves comic books in their video game division is working there, you know? Is this a call to action for everybody to join DC Universe Online? I don't know. Maybe they update the game. Maybe they put out a second game or something, update the engine and everything. Because clearly it's like a sandbox that they're just making new levels and stuff in. But I fought the Batman Who Laughs the other day. That's one of the greatest, that's one of the biggest, probably fan favorite things that DC has done in a while. And we haven't got that in a game. We haven't got that in any media other than that weird mobile game or whatever that they put out. But still, it's the biggest potential that Warner Brothers probably has for live service and non-live service offerings for games, and they're just not doing anything with it because that's the Warner Brothers way. Greenlight 15 projects, cancel 14 of them, restructure the company because they didn't do anything right, repeat, you know? But that's my call to action. For you, for DC, for anyone. You have 24 hours.